What up, YouTube? What up, Utada Tots? I have a question that I'm going to throw out there, and I'll give my disclaimer before I really get into the topic of this video. As you already know, the topic of this video from the title. This video is not meant to, offend. It's just meant to critique and analyze. But this may be, what I'm about to say may be rated, M for mature audiences, rated R. You may need parental guidance to get through this if you are an Utada, But hear me out for a second, hear me out. Don't get the pitchforks and, ready just yet. Just hear me out. All right. All right. The reason that I really asked this question is just because Utada has been really absent from the scene for such a long time that it's kind of like, can you really be a queen if you are really absent from the public for so long? Because you have to have a presence to be a queen, a king, a president, whatever you want to call it. So that's probably a big part of the reason why I asked this question. Is Utada really worthy of being a queen of J-pop? And I'll go down the list of her qualifications to be a queen of J-pop. I'll definitely defend her. And I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. All right. Okay. Obviously, I think Utada's ultimate claim to the queen of J-pop throne is that she has the best-selling album in, Japanese pop music history, period. Whether male or female, she has that title. And because of that, as well as her sales records and her having a lot of #1 hits as well, people kind of consider her to be one of the queens of J-pop. However, on the flip side, it's like, Utada's really not present a lot of times. She's really absent from the scene. Is the youth who's buying CDs, like, are they really being affected or influenced by Utada in any way? Also, I'm thinking, okay, because usually there's, obviously, if you're into J-pop, there's 3 women's names who come up when you speak on the queens of J-pop. 3 women who really do have strong, claims to the throne. That's why oftentimes people just say the queens of J-pop instead of just the queen of J-pop, because the women, all 3 women, and there's more women who can have a claim too, but usually the 3 women that I'm going to go through, they have a good claim to the throne, are the qualifications for this. And I've already gone through Utada. I'll go through Ayumi Hamasaki next. Ayumi Hamasaki, she's the best-selling female, not only female solo artist, but the best-selling solo artist in Japan and possibly in Asia, Probably so in Asia too, As well, she had like a long string of #1 hits. Like, pretty much at one point, every single she released was automatically a #1 hit. Almost to the point where, like, is this system rigged? Because there were some points where I'm like, you're not really selling that many, singles at the moment. Like, is this? I don't know. But she has that record as well. As well as having a good, strong sales record as well, too. And also, like, Ayumi is still present on the scene, even though she's kind of going through some things with her career. It's not what it used to be. And I think at this moment, Ayumi is afraid to leave the scene. because you notice if you keep up with Ayumi, she still keeps releasing stuff as if it was 10 years ago. Like she could get away with just releasing material after material after material and having it sell really well, which isn't the case. But I think part of the reason that she's doing that is because she's afraid to leave the scene. Because if she does, she feels like kind of like once she leaves, it's over. She's forgotten. She's through. No one's gonna be checking for her anymore. Um, I feel like I don't know. I just feel like people could never totally, do that to Ayumi. But then again, it did sort of happen to Seiko Matsuda, and some people are like, who is that? Exactly, who is that? But before, you know, the current three queens of J-pop, there was Seiko Matsuda, and she was the it chick during the '80s. She was the queen of J-pop, and she really sold a lot of records. She's also um, recorded some, albums in English. She's has a lot of English recordings as well. Um, but if you mention her name, some people are like, "Who is that?" You know, and it happened to Seiko, so I guess it could maybe happen to Ayumi. It's strange, but it probably could. Um, I like to think that Ayumi is a little different, just because she does have the claim of being the best female solo artist and the best-selling solo artist in Japan. You know, but it could happen. You know. Next, and the last woman who people speak of when they're talking about the queens of J-pop, Namie Amuro. And as you guys know, if you have really kept up with my channel, I'm, more or less, I guess stand for Namie. Um, however, I'll be try to be fair and unbiased when it comes to my critiques. All right, so for Namie, her part of her claim is that she did it for her, like she did it first. She did it first. She was here before Utada and Ayumi. So, and also she was kind of like the undisputed queen of J-pop during the '90s. So she definitely has her era and her era all to herself for the most part. Back in the '90s during her heyday, wasn't too many people touching her. Especially female artists. Um, Another claim would be Namie's longevity. She's been in the industry since 1992, and also 1995 as a solo artist. Namie has had different lives in the music industry, primarily as a solo artist, but she's also, again, been in the girl group, but also been a part of Sweet Chic, which was a musical collaboration group that helped sort of Namie transition from the '90s Namie to the current Namie. I will say that Namie, as far as her records, like is concerned, her sales records, they are on the lower end in comparison to Utada and Ayumi. Like Namie's best record would probably be she has the most successful single as a solo artist, a female solo artist, and Ayumi and Utada couldn't snatch that record away from her. But I will say that Namie did do a lot of these things before Utada and Ayumi. Utada and Ayumi just took it to the next level, but Namie was helping break down the barriers for female solo artists. She was the one who had the best-selling album in J-pop history for a brief moment. Like she did that record before Utada did. Um, Also, I think Namie may be the best-selling teen artist in the history of J-pop, perhaps. Perhaps. Not quite sure there. And also another claim I'll say for Nami is that she's been through some tough times in the music industry, but has been able to bounce back and has been able to go against the tide as well. Right now it's about groups, you know, group musical acts. Nami is a solo artist. However, she is thriving in this environment, in this industry where right now it's not about solo artists. It's about groups. So, you know, Nami has been able to, stand the test of time. A lot of people counting her out, but she's been able to stand the test of time, transition to a new sound, bounce back from low sales, and sort of kind of like reclaim or solidify her position in J-pop. But to bring it back to Utada now, for me, I think that Utada, ultimately, she does have a claim to the throne. It's just, for me, it just seems like she's really absent. So, can you really be a queen if you're so absent from the public? Because right now Utada's kind of like almost becoming like a legend or a myth, kind of like a story versus actually being present and actually being a part of the current narrative, if you get what I'm saying. But also I was thinking, like, who could replace Utada's spot though? That's the thing. I can't really think of anyone to replace Utada's spot. A couple of names that came to mind was like Kodakumi. I heard that name thrown around, but for me, I think Kodakumi would. I will give Kodakumi the Princess of J-pop title. I think that she is the undisputed Princess of J-pop. But Kodakumi, in comparison to the other three ladies that I named, I think she falls really short. Another name that I thought of was Misha. However, Misha is really absent from the scene as well. But I will say that Misha does have a really good singing voice. And really, I kind of thought, that Utada had the singing voice of Misha. Just from what I heard and all the accolades I was hearing about Utada's vocal range. That I imagine Utada's vocal range being more or less the same as Misha's. However, I have not seen that so far. But, for Misha, she's really absent from the scene. She's kind of like Utada too, though. But I would say, like, her voice, Misha has decent sales, a good sales record, and a really good singing voice. But I don't think that she's worthy of the title, Queen of J-pop. Perhaps Queen of JR&B, perhaps, But overall, if this was a trial, I would find Utada not guilty, and I would let her continue to have the title, at least until someone comes along that could, really challenge this, challenge Utada. Overall, to just cut to the chase, I think Utada does have a claim to the throne. If this was a trial, I would find her not guilty, and I would, allow her to continue to have her claim to the throne. However, I wouldn't say that she is. I will say that if there was to be one and only one Queen of J-pop, she would not be it. If we're doing multiples, more than one, she can be it. At the moment, I say Namie is the Queen of J-pop. If we had to choose just one. In the entire big scheme of things, if we had to choose just one, I don't know. I feel like, okay, we could eliminate Utada. But then when it comes to Ayumi and Namie, we kind of have an issue there, because like right now, like Namie is doing her thing, and Ayumi is struggling. But in the big scheme of things, you know, Ayumi does have a stronger sales record than Namie. So it's time will tell, I guess. I guess we have to just see how things play out, you know. But for now, you know, the three queens of J-pop stands as is, you know. So what do you guys think? Feel free to comment, feel free to subscribe, feel free to give me a thumbs up. Your feedback and support are extremely appreciated and extremely valued. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.